Good morning. A lot of chatter in the back. I'm Carolyn Cawley. I'm president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, and it is such a pleasure to sit down this morning with David Marriott, the new-ish chairman of the board of Marriott International. I have to tell you, one of the very first things I did in preparing for this discussion was I realized for my whole life I've been pronouncing your family's name incorrectly.
You're not the only one,
Marriott,
Carolyn.
so I'm going to work really hard on Marriott.
So thank you.
But let's do a quick audience poll. Who's traveling more today than they were before COVID? Everybody, right? Travel is up. And who is in Bonvoy? Yeah, look at that. You've got a lot of...
Those of you that didn't raise your hands, we need to get you signed up.
Bonvoy members. Well, listen, Marriott is almost 100 years old.
It's crazy.
That's a long time. It's just about as long as the Chamber. We know a little bit about shared history. And you don't get to be almost a 100-year-old company without a really, really strong culture. And one of the things I love most about my job is getting to talk to leaders like David, who have been leading, at this point, a third-generation company about what is that culture and how does it hold together across geographies and across so many different brands, and so I'm so eager to get started.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here today, Carolyn, and it's an honor to be with all of you. Thank you for having me.
In preparation for this interview, I looked at a LinkedIn post of yours, and I just wanted to tell you this story because it's so emblematic of, I think, the culture at your company. About a month ago, David posted a birthday message on what would have been his grandfather's, the founder of the company, Jay Willard's, birthday. And the comments, hundreds of comments on that LinkedIn post, people from all over, from Laguna Niguel to Dubai, said, I met him when I was a bellman. I met him when I was a cook, and he made me feel special. He created opportunity for my family. And I just thought that was such a powerful compliment to the company. And the best one was one person wrote, David, your grandfather should be on the Mount Rushmore of the hotel industry.
That's pretty funny. Well, these are some of my favorite pictures of my grandfather that you see on the wall here. I love the image of him on the horse because that really captured who he was. He was a true American cowboy. And of course, that's me hugging my grandmother at the opening of our former headquarter hotel in 1979. So, wow. Great memories as I look at these pictures that you've captured up there on the wall.
Great family pictures. What is this one here?
In the middle, that is Robert Smythe. He was our very first associate, and that was the little 9-seat root beer stand that opened in 1927 on 14th Street and Park Street in Northwest. And that was just after it went through the transition from the 9-seat root beer stand to the hot shops, and they started serving hot tamales and chili and hot dogs and hamburgers and coffee, because root beer sales plummeted when the weather got cooler, and they needed to reinvent their business. So it was a real example of how you need to continue to innovate and change your business model to meet the customer's needs.
Well, that's a great story. I want to talk more about hot chili. I noticed in the comments and different things I've been reading that people called him Mr. Marriott. What do they call you now that you're the chairman?
Sometimes I get Mr. Marriott, but I prefer them calling me David. Whenever I hear Mr. Marriott, I look behind me to see if my father's standing there. And anyway, I think it's a generational thing. I just prefer to be called David. It helps me feel a little younger, too.
Well, he must have given you a lot of advice when he passed the baton after 66 years.
My father, he's sometimes a man of few words and leads by example. He doesn't really preach to his children about what we should be doing. So I had to pry it out of him a little bit as we went through this transition. I said, Dad, what are some of the things I really need to focus on? What advice do you have for me? And he said, oh, you've been around this business. You know what to do. It'll be easy for you. And I said, no, come on. I had to press. But he said, you know what? He said, be yourself. Oh, above all, don't try to be me. Don't try to be your grandfather. Be yourself. You've got some great core strengths, and focus on that. And he said, really be the caretaker of our culture and core values. Spend as much time as you can with our people out in the field, and support our CEO, Tony. Do everything you can to help him be successful. Make sure that the board is supportive of his efforts and that they're able to work together and collaborate. So I think those were the three key things that he had told me as we went through that transition.
Do you get out much? Do you go and visit properties and hotels and brands?
Carolyn, I'm on the road constantly. I'm headed to Australia on Monday. We are opening a W hotel in Sydney, so I'm really excited to be at the opening of that hotel. I've never been to Australia before, so I'm looking forward to visiting our properties in Melbourne and in Sydney. A couple weeks ago, I was in Indonesia. We went to Jakarta and Bali, and I was in Singapore visiting hotels and spending time with our team. Later in the month, I'll be going back to Southeast Asia. I'll be in Vietnam visiting our hotels. So I'm on the road visiting our people, supporting our customers, meeting with our owners, and really reminding people that the Marriott family is still involved in this business. It's a family business. And I really focus in on our culture and core values, which I think is the thing that distinguishes us amongst a sea of competitors.
What's the first thing you do when you go visit a property?
Shake hands. I like to go to the back of the house. I like to go into the kitchen. I like to go to the back dock, shake hands of our associates, thank them for the incredible job that they do, remind them that they're an extension of the Marriott family and how important they are to our business. When my grandparents started their business in 1927, they said, if you take good care of the associates, they'll take good care of the customer, and the customer will come back. And that's really been the bedrock of what our core values have been built upon over our 96-year history. So we are a people-first culture that truly believes in pursuing excellence, embracing change, acting with integrity, and serving our world. And those are really the key pillars that drive our culture and our core values, and something that we stay focused on.
I'm so curious about culture and how it is expressed in different places. Like, how does Marriott have a Marriott culture that's the same but different in Vietnam or in Frankfurt or at the Key Bridge, the old Key Bridge Marriott?
Yeah. Well, when we were a company of 100 hotels, it was pretty easy, right? But now we have 8,600 hotels in 139 countries and territories around the globe, and 31 different brands. And as you grow as a company, it becomes more and more challenging, of course. And your culture is going to continue to evolve over time, but your core values should really never change. I think the core values that I touched on, those pillars, that belief that if you take care of people, they'll take care of people, and your business will thrive. These are values that really do resonate around the globe, and as I travel, I see that. But you have to have structure to really keep your core values as a true focus, and to keep your core values and your culture healthy and alive. It is a living organism. And so we have business councils around the globe. We have more than 100 business councils, and we have 5,300 hotels participating in these business councils, and the business councils are made up of general managers in different locations around the globe, and they're focused on serving the community. They're focused on dealing with legislative issues that that our hotels might be facing within their local environments. And they're there to help one another. Before we came on stage, you and I were talking a little bit about Maui and the terrible tragedy that Lahaina faced. Our business councils went to work immediately after that horrible event. They started working on sourcing clothing for our associates. We had 390 associates that lost their homes, 3 that lost their lives. And it was an extremely difficult time, but our business councils were instrumental in making sure that we began taking care of our associates and began taking care of the people in Lahaina as best we could, whether it was providing them with a place to stay at the hotels or food or clothing, and working with them on what the future looks like and what that rebuilding process will look like for them and for their families. But those business councils are instrumental. So whether it's Maui, whether it's the earthquakes in Turkey, whether it's the challenges that we're facing in Europe with the war in Ukraine and the refugees that we're helping to support over there, our business councils really focus in on how can they help support the communities and how they can help support our associates in parts of the world that are challenged.
It feels like when you have a strong culture like that, that has a lot to do with retention and when you're growing people. And you and I have talked before about, employee loyalty is just so high at Marriott, but also the opportunities. Can you talk about, you've had so many people, like your first associate over there, grow up in the ranks. Talk about that.
Well, if you were to ask my father what he is most proud of in his more than 66-year career at Marriott, he would tell you it's the opportunities that we provide for our people. And I think that's what this is really all about, and that's what's so wonderful about the hospitality industry in general. If you look at the leadership of many hospitality companies, it's remarkable to see how many people sit in the C-suite level or senior executive roles within our industry that started in hourly ranks. It's an industry that doesn't necessarily require a 4-year degree that you and I had talked about backstage.
That's skills-based hiring.
But it's an opportunity for growth, and it's a tremendous industry. And we've tried to help educate those who are interested in hospitality that this is really a place for you to have a career and not just a job. My first job was washing dishes at the age of 15. At the Bethesda Marriott Hotel down the road. I did several summer internships, really learning the business from the ground up. And many people approach it that way. They come in at the ground level, they learn our industry inside and out and continue to grow their careers. And we encourage them to take risk in their careers, to learn new skills and to really broaden their leadership ability and capacity.
When you think about your workforce and bringing people in and creating that culture, what are some of the different kind of demographic challenges and pressures today, whether it's childcare or part-time work? What are they looking for today, and how are you adjusting?
We've really had to shift as an industry, and we were putting different strategies in place before the pandemic because we were recognizing that this new generation thinks differently. They need more flexibility in their work environment. They need the ability to drop their kids off or pick them up from school. And so the old way of thinking that everybody has to do a 9 or a 10-hour shift just wasn't practical anymore. And so we started making some of these shifts before the pandemic, and then the pandemic just really sped things up. And so we've worked really hard to create a more flexible work environment, and to encourage people to try new opportunities and take risks and learn different areas of the hotel and the industry. So if you've come up through luxury, take a risk, learn a little bit about select service, vice versa. If you graduate with a finance degree, take the time to learn operations, right? If you've come up through food and beverage, take a chance at learning sales or another discipline and really trying to help round people out in terms of their skill sets.
All of the leaders I've talked to have said that one of the most powerful ways that they can show that they're listening is when employee ideas are surfaced.
Yeah.
An idea for an improvement, or how to do something better, faster, with more grace, let's say. And I know that you do a lot of listening. What are some of the things that you've heard and learned from employees that you've been able to elevate?
Yeah, as I travel, I ask our associates, what are some of your biggest challenges, and what are the resources that you need to do your job better? We were really focused on growth as a company for so many years, and we continue to be focused on growth. It's key to creating shareholder value and creating a better value proposition for our customers and our Bonvoy members. But as I asked, what are our challenges out there? What are we facing? A clear area that we had ignored because we were focusing on growth was technology innovation. And that's something that came to the forefront as we talked to our people over the years, is that we really need to have better systems, newer systems, and to make their jobs more efficient and effective, and to give them better customer information and data so they can service our customers better. So we're in the midst of a big technology transformation, and working through that process step by step. We have a long journey ahead of us, but it's something that is greatly needed, and something that was an important priority, but we were working on integrating Starwood, and we were working on integrating all these other things that push that priority a little lower on the list. And now that's come to the forefront, and we're really working through with our associates and gaining that frontline feedback in terms of, what do you need to be the most effective front desk agent? What do you need to be the most effective sales agent? How can we better service our Bonvoy members by having the right technology platform? So we're working through all of that, but it's a constant feedback loop that we have to be getting from our frontline associates, because they really know what's best. They're at the very front and heart of our business.
They are the front line.
That's right.
If you're local and you've ever driven down Wisconsin Avenue in downtown Bethesda, you've seen the most beautiful Marriott global headquarters. It's a fantastic and phenomenal building, and we were talking a little bit backstage about how that is a physical manifestation of culture and innovation. And so, it was designed around people, and it was designed around interactions and ideas. Tell us a little bit more about that. I just think it's a fascinating way to bring your values to life.
Well, our former CEO, Arne Sorensen, deserves a lot of the credit for the vision of that building and the way it came together. We had been in our former headquarter building since 1979, I mentioned, as you were seeing the pictures. And so we really needed a new building. Our lease was running out, and it was going to be too expensive to really set it up for another 40 years, 50 years. And so we found a great location in downtown Bethesda. But I think when you look at the design of the building, it really is set up to drive collaboration and to create connections amongst our people. There's a lot of different spaces where people can meet, come together, have sidebar meetings. There's tons of natural light, so it's a very inviting place to work and be at. The top floor of the building, which you would expect is where the executive offices would be, is a space that is dedicated to the development of our associates. It's called our J. Willard Marriott Jr. Associate Growth Center. So that's where we bring people in from all over the globe to be trained, to be onboarded. We have all of our orientation meetings in there for new headquarter hires, and the executive offices is right smack in the middle of the building. It's actually the transfer floor in the building, and we have a wonderful daycare center in the building that can take up to 91 children from the ages of 0 to 5 to help support our associates. We have a fantastic fitness center, so our associates, when they have time, can stay healthy and fit and take care of themselves. We have a nurse stationed in the building as well to take care of some simple health care needs that folks might have, or to give them their travel vaccinations before they're on the road to different parts of the world. So it was very thoughtful in its design, and we have areas throughout the building which really help tell our story as a company and give a nod to our roots. As starting out as that 9-seat root beer stand, and our big focus on food and beverage, which, for the first 30 years of our company, we were solely focused on food and beverage. It wasn't until 1957 that we opened our first hotel. So we have a lot of different nods to our history and our evolution as a company over the years.
Well, I know that we're just about out of time, but I just had one more thing I wanted to ask you about, because I just think it's so funny and fascinating. In the lobby of the new headquarters, there is a display called the Cabinet of Curiosities. And tell us about that. What is in the cabinet of curiosities?
Well, when I heard the name, I chuckled. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, as are my kids, and I said, Cabinet of Curiosities sounds like it should be at Hogwarts, right?
Yeah.
But it's a really nice area in a public space within the building, right next to our cafe that is also accessible by the public, so that people can come in and they can view. Basically, it's a storyboard that talks about our history, our culture, and our core values. There's root beer mugs displayed, which give a nod to the original root beer stand. There are name tags from associates all around the globe. We had a wonderful competition with our associates around the world where they drew images that could be put on postcards, and we selected 18 winners from about 900 submissions, and so we have those postcards which are displayed there on the Cabinet of Curiosities as well, so people can take them as a keepsake or to send an old-fashioned postcard instead of an email to a loved one while they're traveling. And so it just gives a great nod to our history, culture, and has some great memorabilia, and helps tell the story of where we came from and who we are and what we value.
What's the next thing that goes in the cabinet?
That's a good question. I received a Dreamer Award from Martin Luther King III as they were celebrating the 60th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech, and our team asked if they could display it there, and so I think that might be displayed there soon, which I think is really great and is an important nod to our focus on diversity and inclusion and the efforts that we have in place there. So.
That's really special. Thank you so much. I could talk to you for another half hour, but we've got to go. Thank you all. What a great,
Thank you, Carolyn.
great leader.
It's a true pleasure and honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.